This here demands a completely different way of thinking about work altogether. It's very, very different from that. And the poor old CEO is being managed as though they were level 3 mode. Yet they're trying to create an organization that looks like that. Whoa, that's quite interesting. No wonder we're struggling, right, on this. So if you flip to Exhibit 10.
So do you see this as achievable for non-private companies?
Absolutely, because for two reasons. One, it sounds a bit wishy, but the cosmos is demanding this. This is an extension of our own growth as a species. So it will happen. How fast it will happen is another issue. Plus, from a competitive point of view, the triad is so competitive. So you put the triad in place against command and control or hybrid, it will beat the pants off the triad. Number 3 is we're very confused about ownership right now. Our ownership is being managed by agents. So all the capital is actually superannuation money. It's managed by a bunch of agents who are actually working to their interests and then imposing their values on organizations. That will be eroded too in time when we understand that we are the owners of the businesses that we work in and that the agents are actually making the businesses operate in a way that's against our self-interest. We'll actually unravel this in time, right? So it's a really good question, but it's a time type question. The companies that are working in this mode currently are beating the pants off the competition. So this is a very quick shift in, as a chart on shift in assumptions. If you're in command, and I've gone command and control versus organizational future, here's the area, here's the sort of assumption. The assumption here in command is the dollar rules at the end of the day, and always rules. Here, dollar is an outcome of sticking to purposeful work. The money will come if you energize people into the triad in purposeful work. Equality is big status differences, huge pay differences. Absolute equality, still pay differences, but the institution is designed to express equality. So first come, first serve in the parking lot, one canteen, all that sort of stuff, right? It's not corner offices time, right? And special canteens. Time, here it's short term. When I was in this, it's absurd. In Lindsay, California, when you clocked in on 3-minute intervals and you were paid in 3-minute intervals. So symbolically, your tenure was 3 minutes, right? And people can move either way. I can leave, you can leave, all the rest of it. This is much longer term, mutual and committed, continuous relationships. That's the assumption. Existential security. We have, as human creatures, we are always triggered by fear that we lose our position of status, our income, and all the rest of it. Here, it's achieved through merit and unions. The unions protect me, or if I'm really good at my work, I'm protected, so my security. Here, it's achieved through constant contribution and being part of a commonwealth. This is a commonwealth. It's a commonwealth over time. There will be ups and downs, and when there are ups and downs, we share in the ups and downs in that. The triad is... Sorry?
I think maybe the existential security achieved through merit and unions. I think there's another thing there where sometimes it's not even achieved through merit, it's actually just achieved through cleverness and optics and positioning.
Yeah.
Right?
I think
relationships.
In the new world where it's about responsibility and participation and not accountability, it's very hard to decide what merit is, right? Because we've actually washed out you were accountable for that. It's like we're all just generally responsible. And we'll get into language clarity later on. Motivation and pace, this is extrinsic carrots and sticks. I'll give you a carrot if you do well against KPI. I'll give you a stick if you don't, right? So it's purely extrinsic motivation. The motivation also, however, to be fair, interesting work is intrinsically very powerful. So if you give me really interesting work, I'll work my butt off because it's just fun, just from a work point of view. But it's then attached to carrots and sticks. When I worked for McKinsey, we had a big pay for performance system, and it was quite a lot of money. When I had my first review, I said, well, what are we talking about here? And they said, well, it's tens of thousands of dollars, which was a lot of money to me at that time. And I said, I'll tell you what, I don't wish to discuss the money at all. If you want to orient me and get me to do some things differently, and you can teach me how to be better, I really want to hear that. If you think you can motivate me, you are insulting me, and I do not wish to have that conversation. Because I give you the best I can possibly give you every single day. So I don't want to hear about carrots and sticks. What I would like to hear about is how I can do my job better for you, but I find it actually insulting to talk about motivating me. They're like, oh shit, we haven't had this conversation before, right? And we had a conversation about how to do my job better, and the money got into my bank account, but it was not discussed, right? There. I refused to discuss it. Moral reflection, you don't need any moral reflection, you just make the money, right? And you do what's required to make the money within the law. So as long as I follow the law, that's fine. What's interesting, when you have no globalization, you basically have nation-state law. I have to follow the nation-state law. As soon as you have globalization, I don't have to follow the law at all, because I can go wherever I want. I can go to the unsafe conditions, slave labor, whatever, and no pay. So I don't, in command and control, which is actually what's happening now, globalization is allowing you not to follow the law, right? Here, your moral reflection is constant in an ordered dialogue. We're actually trying to find out all the time what is best to meet our purpose in an ordered dialogue. So there are processes of difficult conversation, of talking about purpose, of making commitments to each other in an ordered way, which is quite different from you will do this and here's the KPIs right there. Change, here people hate change, and in this case here you spend enormous amount of time fighting change, stopping people to fight you on the changes. You spend all this energy. Here they want change to deliver purpose. So everybody's trying to change all the time actually. So the change process is part of being in here is where we're leading to. So that's a very high level shift in sorts of assumptions that one will have to wrestle with, okay? And those are the sorts of things that CEO, if they want to actually engage employees at 4, 5 and 6, those are the sorts of assumptions they're going to have to deal with, which change everything about your organizational design. Literally everything. So that's the set of assumptions. And I want to flip to Exhibit 12 just to stress this here, to give you this concept. Here's one of our organizational systems, right? It's called the performance system. Now, very simply, it's got 10 dimensions on it. Start with 5. Who sets the targets? What's the nature of the targets? Who measures the target, whether you've achieved it? What's the reward? And what's the time frame? So it's a simplified model. If I'm under command and control, or I am today's CEO, right? Who sets the target? The board sets the target. Not me, right? They'll set the target. What's the nature of the target? Hard edge KPI, and we'll play around with balanced scorecard, but we actually know it's the money that's real. Who sets the measures? The individual sets the measures, or the team. In this case, the board will set the measures, so we'll change that. What reward? Dollars or social? For a CEO right now, it's largely dollars. I'm paid millions of extra dollars if I make this. The social aspect is I'm slightly despised by the community for this, okay? Not heavily, in my own circle I've got really good money, but the rest of the community say this is ridiculous what's going on as a CEO. Time frame, it's largely short term rather than long term. So you can put your ticks and crosses down this box for any old performance system, and you can see quite quickly that a command and control or hybrid performance system will look completely different from what I've already been talking about in terms of assumptions for an organization in the future. All these change in terms of their balances. They actually go to more a golden mean balance. There's ticks in across both of these with different weights, right? that are actually happening. And the time is critical, because time, if you're in a relationship over a long period of time, you can iron out swings and roundabouts, winners and losers, that sort of stuff. Time is critical in this. So that's an example of, if we flip back to slide 9, I've got a bunch of assumptions. I will design about how that human beings are motivated with incentives, in this case, carrots and sticks. I will design the institution exactly to mirror my assumptions about carrots and sticks. I will create the behaviour that's exactly associated with that. And what will I do? Told you so. My assumption was correct. That's the trap. I have one of my friends is a very senior executive in one of our big banks, and I have coffee with him now and again. One time he rocked up and he was really grumpy. And I said to him, "What are you so grumpy about?" And he said, "I've just been through my performance review with the board." And I said, "Oh, you didn't get your performance review?" He said, "No, I got 120%. And I said, "So what the hell are you grumpy about?" Because I knew that's like $3 million, right? What are you so grumpy about? And he said, "Well, I know that at least half my KPIs are going to destroy this bank." 3 years later, that bank is in the Royal Commission. Right? He knew that, right? Now, nobody's going to leave $3 million on a table, right? He's being motivated. The assumption is this guy will only work with carrots and sticks. I'll create a bonus system that represents that. His behavior does that. And he was actually becoming physically ill. He actually retired probably 2 or 3 years earlier than he should, because he was becoming ill, because he felt such tension within himself on this. This stuff's real, right? This is what's going on. So that's, if we go right back to the first slide, boom, 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 boom. We're talking about in here, and so that's the closure there. The next part of the introduction is going to talk about how we can start to think about a solution to this stuff.